I'm Tom, I'm 31 years old, I'm originally from London, but I'm living in Rotterdam. And so in my everyday life, I am a teacher, I work with children with learning difficulties.
Hi, I'm Renee, I'm 27 years old, originally from the USA, currently living in Rotterdam. I work in shipping, I work in crew management.
Hello, I'm Alex, 30 years old, living in London. I'm a civil servant.
Hi, I'm Josh, I'm 30 years old, I'm from London. Food warehouse work.
Like many people, we saw what was going on, and there I was just cycling one day when Alex contacted me to say that he wanted to do something, and I said to him, actually I want to do something too. We came here just to help out however we could, and in the process managed to raise some funds and were able to bring some supplies here too.
We had the will and the way and the time, and so here we are.
My best friend's Ukrainian, and so I've always been a bit interested in Ukraine. I've known him since I was 14, though I've never been to the country, and we saw what happened was going on in the news. I was actually doing photography, camera, and I was actually outside covering the protests outside the Russian embassy the night before the invasion happened, and then so I went to the protests for about 5 days or so, and I felt it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to change my profile to the Ukrainian flag or go to lots of events and say how bad this is, this is really bad, and Putin is a killer, stop Putin, stop the war, because it's not really going to do anything. So yes, as Tom was saying, I contacted him and said, hey, I feel like I want to do something, and he was like, I also want to do something too. And so that's kind of, so here we are.
I just tagged along at the end. Yeah.
I found out, I woke up in the morning and I looked at my phone and it was the first thing I saw, and of course my reaction was one of horror. I'd seen sort of the build-up beforehand, and I'd seen the American President Biden's comments and how it looked like something was going to happen, and only a couple of days before I had been speaking to a friend of mine in Rotterdam who is Ukrainian, and I just thought, like, I don't know, I didn't know how to approach it to her, because I just thought this is such an awful thing. It was difficult to see.
It was the day after my birthday. We were in Italy, and it felt surreal. It's hard to imagine, especially being in Eastern Europe at the time, that not that far away, such atrocities were taking place. And you feel, especially when it's hitting so close to home, that can't even imagine, and it's still hard to realize that it's continuing to this day. And
I saw unverified Twitter reports, didn't think anything of it because it was unverified. Next morning, an independent journalist I quite trust had put up the message, the madman's fucking done it, with verified results and independently verified information that it had happened, and it was just disbelief.
It's definitely a bit of a mixed bag for me, because on one hand I have been hearing the stories from the people here, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, but that being said, like, everyone here is kind of working towards this same goal, and I feel like a lot of people are happy to be amongst other Ukrainians here. So while it is just it, as I said before, very difficult, very tragic, there's actually it's quite inspirational, and there's like a good amount of hope, and it's very inspiring.
Took my word, I was also going to use inspiring. The strength of the people that have been here, and knowing that you're waking up every day and checking your phones and looking at the news, and it's not getting really better anytime soon, and to think of the rebuilding and to hear the stories of people who still have families, it's incredible that you all have found the capacity to come back and help. And that was your urge, is to what can we be doing to help? It's incredible, and especially since so many of these people also have other lives outside of this that they need to be worried about beyond the bigger picture of globalness, but even small personal things, and then to show up every day, it's incredible.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm doing something actually worthwhile, even if it is just moving boxes around in a warehouse and probably not being particularly efficient, and my Ukrainian's non-existent, my Russian isn't much better, as people like to point out. It makes me feel like I'm doing something, and it matters, in even if it's just a small way. It's better than being at home. I assumed that A, most of the people here were probably Polish, and B, the Ukrainians who were here were probably members of the Ukrainians expat community that was already in Poland before the war started. And obviously I discovered that those two things were completely wrong. Most people here are refugees, or people who've come back to specifically help, and that was really eye-opening for me, because as I said, I came with I didn't imagine that refugees would be in a warehouse.
Doing what you can is always the easiest thing.
I guess, I guess maybe because I've been here for quite a few days now, I'm thinking logistically, but just the one, I want to say whatever they need the most at that point in time, but I guess the more emotionally thought out answer would be just whatever brings them comfort at that time.
That I'm sorry I didn't get to see your country before this, but after making as many friends as I have here, that I'm very excited to go back, and I wish everyone the best, and that the rebuilding is swift, and that there's an end to this sooner than later, and just the amount of love and care that I've felt even just from the people here, I can only imagine what a wonderful country it would be to be back to soon.
I would say the Polish complement of Soviet-era MiGs, those jet fighters, I would give them those, and that way they can protect their own skies.
In classic words, a just cause has many allies, an unjust one few.
I guess if I were to think of it metaphorically, it almost seems to come across, if you were to think of it as an individual, as very heroic. It is incredible everywhere you look online, everywhere I look back in the Netherlands, in London. It's amazing to see like so much of the world backing this one country, this one person in a metaphorical sense.
I'll go symbolic and say sunflowers. I'm hoping that this is just an unusually long winter, and hopefully with enough sun and enough care and support from the rest of the world that we'll be seeing fields again soon.
I think that it's very easy to look at what's going on in Ukraine now and draw comparisons to the Warsaw Rising in the 40s during the Second World War, to look at what happened in Hungary in the 50s, and then Czechoslovakia in the 60s. And it's very easy to see Ukraine as just kind of following this linear narrative of sort of small countries being subject to Russian expansionist aims. However, I'd like to say that I don't think this is the case. This isn't the Cold War. Putin and Russia cannot control the narrative of what's going on in Ukraine in the way that his predecessors in Russia would have been able to do. We live in a very different time. This is the 21st century. We have social media. We have all these ways. We're more in touch and able to communicate with each other than we've ever been before. And so I suppose what I would say is that whilst on one hand this seems like David and Goliath, and on one hand whilst this does seem like, this is something we've seen before, actually it's going to be very different and it's going to produce a very different outcome, and ultimately I believe that Ukraine will triumph.
I am Renee. I'm 27 years old. I'm originally from the United States and currently living in Rotterdam. My everyday life, I work in shipping.
My name is Tom. I'm 31 years old. Originally I'm from London, but I'm currently living in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. And outside of this, I am a teacher.
I am Alex. I'm 30 years old. I'm from London and I'm a civil servant.
I am Joshua Parkinson. I'm 30, from London, and I work in food warehousing.